Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to another edition of Alexandra Mayers Live Painting Edition. I'll be getting started momentarily. Give me about 5 minutes. I will not be speaking live while I'm painting today, just so y'all know I'm here. But I'm going to go ahead and throw on some audio archives from my podcast, Alexandra Mayers, Just Some Thoughts. And if you want to subscribe to my podcast, it's free to do for now. Just go to alexandramayers.podbean.com and you can check out all the archives. I do that show a few times a week. It's not daily. I'd say maybe every other day. So just hang tight. I have a few more things I need to do around here before I get started painting. As you can see over on the left-hand side of the screen, that is my roommate, Corey, the bird. Corey has been chirping all day today. He's been feeling pretty good, I think. Oh, he's ringing his little bell. He's saying, hey, what up? All right, so again, I hope everyone's having a great day today. And as I say, usually, if you enjoy watching paint dry, this is the podcast for you. I'll be back in a bit. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers, Just Some Thoughts. So I hope everyone's having a good weekend. I most definitely have had a wonderful weekend. And it has been a little while since I've uploaded a new installment of Just Some Thoughts. But the reason for that is because I am finally getting around to developing an area of my life that I have neglected for far too long. And that area I'm talking about is my social life. Yes, I'm finally developing a healthy, toxic-free social life, and it feels wonderful. Actually, pretty much every aspect of my life as of current is in balance, finally. And I'm going to do my best to keep it that way. Actually, I had a really good evening tonight because I did something that I haven't done in a really long time. And that little something is shoot a few games of pool. Yes, yes. I have a new acquaintance who is pretty much as close to a professional pool player as you can get. And hopefully, he and I will be getting together at least once a week to shoot a bit of pool because to me, pool is just the perfect pace of a game and a hobby for me at this particular stage of my life. I like everything about that particular game. I like that it's a game that you can socialize while playing. I like that it's a game that is a game of strategy. I like that it's about, well, a little bit about prediction. And it's just something I've always enjoyed doing. You know, at some point, probably next year, I'll invest in my own pool table because that is something I could just see myself doing at home here and there just to get my mind off of other things in life. But speaking of pool, tonight, my experience playing pool reminded me very much of one of my favorite TV shows, Star Trek. There's an episode of Star Trek Enterprise called Carbon Creek. And I highly advise that those of you out there who enjoy playing pool, as I do, check out that particular episode because just the premise around how the game of pool helps to acclimate a small group of Vulcans into a small town it's really well written. It's a very well written storyline. So everyone check that out. Um, This might come to a shock to many of you, but slowly but surely, I am making my departure from the internet. I don't think I will ever be completely offline, but I've just reached a phase in my life to where it's really not that necessary for me to be online anymore, which is very nice. So I'll just leave it at that. Have a good evening, everyone. I will continue to post videos here and there on my YouTube channel, but they probably will no longer be live videos anymore. They'll just be little glances into my life. So, goodbye, everyone. Once more, this is Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers, Just Some Thoughts. So, I had a good day today, but something interesting happened on Twitter that I wanted to briefly discuss. Now, I guess it was yesterday that I noticed that one of my favorite people in the world right now, Mr. Michael Avenatti, changed his profile photo. And man, it's a really good photo. He's sitting on a chair, looking very dashing and debonair, very GQ style in his little suit that matches his eyes, and just a very classic photo. And I'm glad that he had that photo taken and that he made it his Twitter avatar, because um, it was kind of obvious he was bothered by a piece that was written in Time magazine about how he stated that he felt in order to win the presidency in 2020, the candidate most likely needed to be a white male. And that was his opinion. I feel like some of his statements were likely taken out of context to a degree, but you could just tell it bothered him. But I think a part of what bothered him was the photograph that they used of him in conjunction with the article, because they really weren't that flattering of photographs. But the photograph that he put on his Twitter avatar is just gorgeous. So, anyways, upon my seeing the photo, I screen capped it and I retweeted it. And you know how on your Twitter app, there's the fun little appliques or the fun little graphics you can add. So there was a fun little graphic on my Twitter app that said flawless. So I put that on the photo and I posted the photo on my Twitter feed. So, anyways, here's what's odd about that. You would think that if people liked the photo, they would be like, hey, that's a nice photo. Or if people didn't like the photo, they would just, move right along. But no, I have had 3, maybe 4 Twitter accounts that are obviously very vehement Trump supporters go out of their way to try to insult me for my finding that particular photo of Michael Avenatti attractive. And I don't follow any of these people on Twitter who had something negative to say to me. Um, it's weird that they would even see my tweet unless they are constantly monitoring Michael Avenatti's mentions to see, okay, who's saying something positive about him. Let's knock whoever is saying something positive about him. But that appears to be the case. And that's scary to me. And once more, that gives me another reason to be very nervous about and possibly even fear people who are still supporters of the Trump administration, because it doesn't seem like it's enough for them to just be supporters of the administration that they're in favor of, but they have to go out of their way to seek out other people who might have opposing political views and knock them personally on Twitter. There's this one woman who had the nerve to talk to me like she was, I don't know, maybe a middle school girl. Now, her Twitter account said that she was a happily married woman. She, went out of her way on her Twitter account to say, hey, I'm a Trump supporter. But then she's talking to me like she's a middle school girl saying, oh, I bet you just want to sleep with him. It's like, what? Because I posted a photo of him that I think is attractive and I said that he's attractive, you're going to go out of your way to insult me and say that something's wrong with my perception? Please, nothing is wrong with my perception. I mean, if anything, I think there's probably more right with my perception than most people's when it comes to aesthetics, because I am a professional artist by trade. I am a painter. I know beauty when I see it. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that today because that's pretty bad if there is some sort of a movement when it comes to the Trump administration, not only to try to attack others' political views that are opposing to theirs, but to go as far as to personally insult someone because they might find an opposing politician's look to be attractive. I mean, really, that's just crazy to me. I mean, what should at this point, should I just go on Twitter and start knocking Melania and be like, Melania, something's wrong with your eye. Look at who you're married to. I think a lot of people could, but I just kind of look at that kind of behavior as just going too low at this stage in the game. I mean, really. But one thing I do want to say about Mr. Hottie, Michael Avenatti, is that he has inadvertently helped me when it comes to my dating life. And I'm going to tell y'all how. In the past, for the most part, I have not dated men who are bald or balding. But ever since Avenatti has come on the scene, I have been so impressed with him that I've thought to myself, you know what? I've been a jerk not to date guys who are bald or balding. I definitely need to change my ways in that regard because it is a form of prejudice. And really, there's so many attractive balding guys out there when they're confident in not concealing the fact that they're balding. So, as I'm living my life and everything, just recently, I was asked out on a date by a guy who actually shares many similar traits to Mr. Avenatti. Balding, white, ex-fighter, into fast vehicles. So I went out with him the other night and I had a blast. I sure as hell did. So, I just kind of want to send a big thanks out there to Mr. Hottie Avenatti and say thank you for opening my eyes to expanding my pool of potential suitors. Thank you for giving so much of America back some hope in regards to the state of future politics. And just thanks for being you. I think that you are fantastic. And I do feel that you are absolutely beautiful and the epitome of what I feel a modern man should be. So thanks everyone for listening to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers, Just Some Thoughts. I had such a nice day today. Started out doing a little bit of computer work and just because of the day that I had yesterday. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, remember you always can, as long as I have a Twitter account at least, on @AlexMayersLive. But anyways, yesterday I had a really busy day and today I just felt really depleted. And whenever I feel depleted, I feel the need to get out into nature. It really recharges me. Normally, I like going to the park Actually, due to a new acquaintance that I have, I just learned about another park I didn't even know existed close to where I live that I'll be visiting probably maybe next week. But, anyways, today I decided to go to the beach. I went to Deerfield Beach. I live in the city of Deerfield Beach, and I am so fortunate to live here because it's a wonderful place. I live more so in an area where really it could be anywhere in America, but just 10 minutes away, I can visit the ocean, and I'm very grateful for that. So, anyways, today I decided to dip out of work a little bit early and I went to the beach. And upon getting there, I realized that I definitely need to invest in a utility wagon, not just for when I'm, spending time leisurely, but for my work as well. As some of you may be aware, I have three jobs, and one of my part time jobs involves me transporting quite a few goods, and it sure would be of benefit if I were to have a utility wagon. So, today, upon arriving at the beach, because I like to have all my stuff with me, I'm completely OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I got to bring my stuff. So even though I wasn't working, I always, feel the need to have my supplies and some water and my computer stuff because I'm a nerd. So I get to the beach. I got there at the perfect time and probably a really good day too. Actually, today in Deerfield Beach, it was the most beautiful weather. It's unseasonably warm, even for down here right now in November. It was in the lower 80 degrees. Sky was partly cloudy. And on my Twitter account, I joked about how even though it was partly cloudy, there was a chance of passing cute violinists. Because I want to tell you all about something very strange that happened that really does make me wonder if time travel is a reality. And as I tell you this story, you probably will be like, oh, Alexandra Mayers is a little bit vain, but that's okay because I have a very eclectic mind. I fantasize quite a bit, which is why probably at some point in the near future, I'm going to start writing some fiction about my fantasies, not just adult related fantasies, but probably some sci fi fantasies. So I get to the beach. I set up my little stuff and everything. I always have my little beach chair, my little beach umbrella, even though I really didn't need it today. Have my little beach towel. It's a carpet, actually, that is a circle. It has the design of a mandala. It's just beautiful. And again, if you want to check it out, you can look at my Twitter. But I'm sitting there and I was just kind of relaxing and I was thinking to myself, I'm so happy I'm single. And I'm so happy that on a whim, I can just do whatever I want. I'm so grateful for that because a lot of times when you get people together to go to the beach and you try to collaborate a time, something weird always happens. I just don't like that. I like to be a lone wolf or a lone wolfess, or maybe I should say a bitch. Isn't that what a female dog is? So anyway, I set up all my little stuff. I brought with me Omarosa Manigault Newman's book, Unhinged. I'm in the process of reading that right now whenever I have some spare time. And I'll tell y'all, you really need to read that book because chapter one, straight out the gate, ooh, it's such an exciting read. She brings in the element of Hope Hicks. I can't wait to get further into the book because I'll tell you, I think that Omarosa does have more tapes in regards to the current president, Donald Trump, than what the media is aware of. But she is strategic. Ooh, I love her. I think that she could possibly be my sister from another mother. But, anyways, I'm diverging from what I wanted to say. But then again, that's what Alexandra Mayers Just Some Thoughts is all about. I'm just talking. So, anyways, I set up all my beach stuff. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh, it's so good to be out of the house. I can kind of disconnect a little bit. The weather's so nice. Hardly anybody's here at the beach. I'm by myself. I'm in my element. I'm getting recharged from all of the wondrous nature energies. I'm just feeling good. Plus, on top of that, today it was made known that New Mexico has finally been able to attain some congressional representatives who are Native American. And for those of you who are not aware of my ethnic background, I do consider myself to be African American, but within my lineage, there's quite a bit of Native American. So I consider them to be my people as well. So I was very happy about today. And I'm just relaxing, feeling great. And out of almost nowhere, as I'm facing the ocean, to the north, these two men appear and they're approaching me. And I'm thinking to myself, who are these two guys coming up towards me? They don't appear homeless. They're dressed very nicely, like your typical tourist, actually. But one of them has a camera. And so I'm thinking, what's going on here? But as they come closer, because at first I thought they were just going to pass me, but they were both making eye contact with me. So it made me a little nervous because, I get paranoid. I have social anxiety, whatnot. And I noticed that one has a camera, the other one has a violin. And that was so odd to me because I was just thinking last night that for a song that I've written, which is a bit of a tribute to the activist, the civil rights activist, Alice Walker, who coined the term womanism. It's a song I wrote called War on Women. I was thinking, oh, I wish I could play the violin or the fiddle because it would go perfectly with this style of music for War on Women, a style of music which I've coined as Black suburban girl with a folk flair. All right, so they reach where I am, and I'm looking at them, and the one holding the violin says to me, hi, I'm trying to get over my fear of playing my musical instrument in front of people. Would you mind if I played a song for you? And immediately I was like, wow, this is the best day at the beach ever. I come here by myself and I get live music too. And I'm just like, yeah, of course, play me the song. And the guy with the camera, he looks at me and he's like, do you mind if I film this and take some pictures? And I'm thinking to myself, okay. So I just say to him, I'm like, that's fine. But I have my phone with me. So I was like, do you mind if I take a picture of your violinist too? I feel like, hey, you got to give to get. So he's like, yeah, that's cool. And I'm like, okay. But it was very odd. So he plays me a song, and it wasn't the style of music that I'm accustomed to, but I thought he did a good job. And I told him, hey, good luck. I hope the best for you and keep moving with your music because whatever your passion is in life, you got to move forward with it. And he's like, can I take a picture with you? So I was like, yeah. So I took a picture with him and then they went on their way. But upon their departure, it made me think. I was like, who were those guys? Because I turned around and they seemed to have magically disappeared. Now, I was not too far from the sidewalk. Maybe I turned around too late to see them disappear over the little grassy bank. But I thought to myself, who were these people with this camera? Because the camera was a little bit of an older fashioned camera than what people use today. It wasn't super old. I would say it was the kind of camera that people would have used about maybe 5 to 8 years ago. And then suddenly I had the strangest thought. I thought to myself, what if they were time travelers? And what if in the future, time travel is a readily accepted reality, and you can go back and meet whatever historical figure it is that you feel like meeting, but you're not allowed to alter the timeline. And I guess I watch Star Trek a little bit too much. I love Star Trek Enterprise and Star Trek Generations, but that thought just suddenly crossed my mind, because I've been saying in a fairly joking manner, but I think I could actually do it if I had the correct people around me. I've said for quite some time now, yeah, in the year 2024, I'm going to run for president and I'm going to win. What if in the future I do that? And what if in the future, upon time travel becoming a reality, this particular young man who took a picture with me wanted to meet me and see what I was like? If that's the case, today would have been the perfect opportunity for him to do so, because I was in an isolated place, a quiet place, yet a public place in nature. I was in a very thoughtful but peaceful kind of mood. And it just would have been the perfect opportunity for a time traveler to cross my path, interact with me, and meet me. And I'll tell you what's even funnier about my thought about that. I had an interaction with one of my younger and probably my favorite relative this evening. And I haven't talked to him in a while since, school has started and whatnot. So we had our little interaction today. I actually wish it had been longer, but I had some other things I had to do. So I had to cut our conversation kind of short. But I was asking him, I'm like, hey, since school started, have any thoughts crossed your mind in regards to what you want to be when you grow up? And he was like, oh, not yet, not yet. And he's such a young, beautiful person, but he has a little bit of an old soul, I'll tell you that. And I was saying, well, okay, let's say that you were to choose a profession to where you could go off world, and you could go to another planet, maybe be an astronaut or something along those lines. Would you want to do that? He's like, yeah, that'd be cool, but it would take so long. And I'm like, well, see, you're not thinking correctly, because it may not take so long to attain a doctorate degree or a master's degree or whatever it takes to be an astronaut or someone who works off world in the future, because so many things have changed. Let's think about what seemed impossible not too many years ago. It seemed impossible that we would ever have an African American president, yet we had one. It would seem impossible that you could cross the United States via air in a plane in the span of only a few hours, yet we can. So who's to say that in less than a few years that you're set to graduate, via traditional means, that maybe something will happen to where suddenly people's education or schooling is done in a matter of days via some sort of information download directly into your brain. So that tripped him out, but he understood. And I guess that's why he's my favorite relative. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to share what a good day I had today. And we all make the choice as to whether or not to be happy. I tried to record a video blog about that a little bit earlier when I was at the beach, but I was doing it through the YouTube live, and everything I had to say didn't record properly. But I will post on my YouTube some highlights from my day at the beach, probably tonight or tomorrow, at some time in the near future. And I do want to thank everyone who takes the time to listen to me. I do appreciate it very much. Have a wonderful week. And once more, this was Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Good night. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Now, tonight I want to bestow a little bit of dating advice to many of you lovely ladies and gentlemen out there who are looking for love. And I also want to share with you an alternate perspective from what you may already have when it comes to the playing field of dating that currently exists today, not just in America, but all over the world. Oftentimes, I have noticed that relationships don't work out, not because the two people are not compatible, but because one of the two people in the equation are not in actuality single and available. Even though their dating profile may say single and available, and even though they may believe that they are single and available, before you attempt to date, you need to take stock of your life honestly. And you also need to take stock of the life of the person that you're attempting to enter a relationship with. Now, I'll probably delve a little bit deeper into this issue sometime in the near future, but just for now, I do want to say that oftentimes people just are not honest with themselves when it comes to the individuals who are in their lives. Sometimes a woman can view herself as single, but she may have a close platonic male friend who she views as only a friend, but who that friend secretly harbors some serious romantic love for, and who feels, hey, maybe if I stick around long enough, uh, she'll eventually open her eyes to me. And when such a situation happens, oftentimes the woman who is presenting herself as single finds the men who she's trying to date quickly running for the hills, because just as women are intuitive, men, they harbor a certain primal instinct as well, and they can sense when a woman is not truly available. Now, some men, of course, will try to, fight for the woman and try to, push whoever is around her that's interested in her away. But a lot of guys won't, especially as they get older, because they figure, hey, there's plenty of fish in the sea. And the same happens in the opposite situation when it comes to women. Sometimes a man will have a friend who he considers a close platonic female friend, but the woman who he's dating very quickly figures out, now, wait a minute, this so-called friend of his, she's into him. Do I want to have to contend with this kind of BS? And it doesn't always have to do with the opposite sex. I was in a situation many years ago to where I was dating a guy who had a close guy friend. And it didn't take me very long to realize that his guy friend was a bit more than a friend. And there wasn't even anything physical going on, but I could just sense it. So I just kind of wanted to put that thought out there when it comes to the people out there looking for love, because when you look for love, you got to love yourself. And part of loving yourself means being honest with yourself, because not everybody wants to enter a polygamous relationship. Not at all. It depends on what kind of person you are, depends on what your tolerance levels are, of course. But It just is what it is when it comes to that kind of thing. So I hope you all enjoyed this very brief podcast of Alexandra Mayers, just some thoughts. And remember, you can always follow me on Twitter at Alex Mayers Live. Good night. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers, Just Some Thoughts. Boy, have I had an exciting Veterans Day weekend in regards to politics. As soon as I heard of the news of some protests that were going to be underway beginning on Friday in regards to the GOP or Trump administration supporters attempting to stifle the Broward County count of the vote, the proper count. Some people are calling it a recount, but it's actually a proper count. I just knew that I had to cover it via being an independent investigative blogger. I was a little afraid because I didn't know what kind of white supremacists or KKK members or neo-Nazis or white nationalists were going to be down there. But I just knew in my core, in my being, that those who support the Democrats and Andrew Gillum specifically just may need me to make an appearance with my little video recording materials and see what was going on. So I did. I drove down there to Lauderhill, which is not very far from where I currently reside. And I'm so glad that I did, because fortunately, there was a handful of individuals who were supporting Andrew Gillum at this particular protest. But when I arrived, the only reason I felt safe to record via video what was going on, which you can view if you want to on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Alexandra Mayers, was because of the awesome and extremely protective Broward County Sheriff's Office presence. I was so glad to see them there. They were there in full force. I was very happy about that. But what an event. I have not felt so afraid in a very long time. The white nationalist presence there was very apparent. Upon my getting there, and I tried to, dress as understated as possible. I was trying to stay as close to the Andrew Gillum political presence, the handful of people that were there. But I did want to record just the atrocious negative energy that these protesters in support of Trump and Ron DeSantis were exuding. While I was standing there, I observed a white male who appeared to be somewhere between the ages of early 30s, possibly early 40s, who was strategically approaching women of color, attempting to, well, from my perspective, recruit them to the GOP. Meanwhile, you had these guys who, I guess it was a biker gang. I'm not sure what was going on. They were very aggressive appearing white males in biker outfits on motorcycles, walking around on bullhorns, screaming about how Ron DeSantis is the winner of this past election. And this past election ballot count has not been completed yet. We don't know the outcome just yet. But they were walking around, they were screaming on these bullhorns like lunatics. And this man, he approaches me and he's like, "Have you thought about supporting the GOP?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, but I cannot support any administration that appears to condone white nationalism, because the last time I checked, that's akin to what was going on with Adolf Hitler."
So he got mad when I said that. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm the wrong person for you to approach. And he was like, well, if you would just put your emotions aside, you would probably see things my way. And I just looked at him. And at that point, I was just getting livid. Fortunately, fortunately, a tall, beautiful, basically an angel of light, a black male with dreads, appeared out of nowhere and intervened, and very calmly, but very assertively said, "Leave this young woman alone." So this apparent nationalist did. And I had my cell phone with me and my video recording materials. And I attempted to take a photo of him, and he would not allow it, meaning the nationalist. But hey, freedom of speech, public venue, I did get that photo so that any young woman of color can know who to watch out for. Because here's the thing, it seems as though these racist white nationalists who have infiltrated Broward County and who are terrorizing and harassing, and from my perspective, stalking the supervisor of elections, Miss Dr. Brenda Snipes, it seems to me that they are attempting to silence the Black Broward County voice. And that is not acceptable, not at all. But they didn't just stop at the election office. Oh no. The evening of November 11th, 2018, political candidate Andrew Gillum spoke at the Mount Olive Baptist Church in Fort Lauderdale. Last time I checked, America was based on religious freedom. He has the absolute right to speak at whatever religious venue he wants to. Last time I checked, I see the current supposed president, Trump, referencing God all the time. Why can Andrew Gillum not do the same? But here's what happened. Two, not just one, but two, possibly more, political, what I have to consider operatives, linked to political strategists for the GOP, for the racist Trump administration. These two political apparent operatives appeared at the Mount Olive Baptist Church. A woman known as Laura Loomer and a white male known as Jacob Ingalls. I'm not so much worried about Laura Loomer, to be honest with you, because I've taken a look at her work. I've taken a look at who she is, and I personally feel that she will have a change of heart in the future. I do not know why I feel this, but I'm a very intuitive soul. I always have been. And when it comes to Laura Loomer, I just think that she reached a point in her life to where she felt so defeated that she felt that she had to sell out. At one point, on what appeared to be the property of this church, another angel of light appeared, a woman who identified herself as a woman of Jewish heritage, attempted to talk some sense into Miss Loomer. I have seen this particular woman who was the angel of light before. I do not know her, but what I do know is that she is someone who believes in righteousness. She's someone who is very observant, someone who is very kind. Actually, I encountered her, this angel of light who Laura Loomer attacked, when I was down at the protest outside of the election supervisor's office. She was very kind to me. She approached me, introduced herself. I cannot remember her first name, but she just has so much energy of love and goodness exuding from her. So she tried to approach Miss Loomer and say, hey, I'm a woman who is of Jewish heritage as well. What are you doing? And I'm summarizing what she said because there is a live feed that documented the entire thing. A live feed, which Laura Loomer has requested that people retweet. So I'm going to retweet some clips of that particular live feed so that people can see the truth of exactly what was going on. What was going on behalf, from my perspective, of Roger Stone, political consultant, political troublemaker who should be indicted. And Laura Loomer attacked this older woman of Jewish heritage who you could tell was an upstanding citizen, who you could tell was just looking to do the right thing, who you could tell was trying to defend the Mount Olive members from this verbal attack, this incitement of violence. I mean, this was a racist attack that was underway, that was being live streamed. I don't even understand why Periscope allowed it. I don't understand. But anyways, Laura Loomer attacked her, and that was wrong. Even though Laura Loomer claims to be of Jewish heritage, I do not believe in my heart that she is truly a Jewish woman, because just because you say you are something doesn't make it so. You got to practice what you preach. And considering all the atrocities that have been bestowed upon men and women of the Jewish faith via nationalists, white men who are nationalists, men who today she's endorsing and defending, I personally do not feel that Laura Loomer is in her right mind. She may need to take a step back and check herself into a mental facility just for a little while, maybe a few weeks, so that she can reset, reboot, and remember who she claims to be. But again, it's not Laura Loomer I was very concerned about upon watching that live feed in regards to the attack upon the Mount Olive Baptist Church in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was Jacob Ingalls. What a lot of people don't understand about Jacob Ingalls is that for a very long time, he has been working in conjunction with political analyst, political strategist, and political consultant Roger Stone, who endorses white supremacy, white nationalism, neo-Nazis, and this current Trump administration. And that is despicable. I believe that he hides behind the guise of being a member of the LGBTQ community. I'm not so sure he's telling the truth about who he is. Not whatsoever. He showed up in front of the Mount Olive Baptist Fort Lauderdale, Florida church wearing the equivalent of blackface. He openly said verbally that his outfit was supposed to be him in costume as Brenda Snipes, Dr. Brenda Snipes, the supervisor of the Broward County elections. He was wearing a gray wig. He had been there all day. There is a plethora of video footage that has been captured and submitted to law enforcement in regards to Jacob Ingalls in front of that church wearing that outfit, proclaiming that he is supposed to be Brenda Snipes, calling her out. The entire event was instigated supposedly by a tip that Laura Loomer received about Brenda Snipes being inside that church, but with no solid evidence. I believe that Laura Loomer was utilized as a pawn, as a gateway to instigate the incitement of violence within the Black community outside of that church. And it is wrong. Laura Loomer, you should be ashamed of yourself. You are better than this. You need to separate yourself from that Jacob Ingalls as quickly as you can. You blocked me on Twitter. And I know you're listening to this, by the way. But you need to think before you act. I am telling you this, Miss Loomer, from experience, tremendous life experience. Save yourself because you are with the wrong people. And I see something in you that maybe you don't even see in yourself. But you need to take a good long look in the mirror and realize who you really are and realize that you are slumming it. So stop. You're better than that. And Jacob Ingalls, ooh. That old man that you labeled Bernie, that you said needed to go home and warm up some milk, that's a man from the true civil rights era who saw exactly what you are, and he was correct. I suggest that Ingalls and Loomer never return to Broward County again. Ali Alexander, I see you as well. I suggest you never return here again. I have a very interesting life that has led me quite a few places. I have a very interesting life that has taught me things to where I guess the reason that I'm such a fan of so many things that Steve Jobs said is because when it comes to connecting the dots, when I look at my past, I see exactly why things in my past happened. It was so I could better operate in the present and the future. I highly suggest that every young individual, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your sex, within the Broward County and Florida area, start getting interested in politics. I'm going to start putting together a daily video podcast in regards to my commentary about the current political happenings. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I personally feel my time has passed. But if I have the power to influence young people's future, young people who don't know what they want to do in life, I'm here for them. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But yeah, that Jacob Ingalls, everyone needs to familiarize themselves with exactly who he is. Familiarize yourself with who Roger Stone is. Familiarize yourself with who Matt Gaetz is, Gaetz. There is a very aggressive white nationalist presence that is infiltrating African American and Black communities as of current in the South. And it doesn't need to be happening. I was very offended by what that white nationalist who approached me said, taking the emotion out of my thinking process. Like hell, I'm not a robot. I'm not an android. I'm a human being. Politics has always involved emotion. That is what America is founded on. America is founded on religious freedom, emotion, feeling. If you don't feel, something's wrong with you. That's my opinion. So thank you once more for listening to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers, Just Some Thoughts. You can always follow me on Twitter at Alex Mayers Live. And remember, you should visit my website, alexandramayerslive.com. Have a good evening. Take care. And when you see something, report it. When you see something, if you can do something about it, stand up. Utilize your freedom of speech. Utilize your free will. That is the greatest gift God has given us. Free will. That's actually what pissed Satan off. Good night.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers, Just Some Thoughts. You know, I was thinking today that without a doubt, it needs to be far more widely publicized and known exactly how veteran porn blogger Michael Struther lost control of his blog, Mike South, to basically one of the most widely known porn star escort ring operators in existence, one of the operators of something called the Luxury Companion. And I'll tell you why that needs to be more widely known. If you were to go and take a look at the particular blog that I'm referencing right now, you would notice that there are quite a few, not only inaccurate, but very negatively slanted articles that revolve around Michael Avenatti, the presidential hopeful and the attorney of Stephanie Clifford, aka Stormy Daniels. For some reason, this particular blog just habitually attacks Michael Avenatti. And I was just thinking about that for whatever reason today. And I was like, why would that be? And it suddenly crossed my mind as to why. Because of an attorney known as Keith M. Davidson, who was very instrumental in the payouts to the porn stars prior to attorney Michael Cohen getting involved. Keith M. Davidson for years has been involved with the porn industry and paying out money to various adult entertainers who have had sexual liaisons with various celebrities. And I was actually contacted by Keith M. Davidson several years ago when I was doing a story in regards to what was going on with a CEO known as Richard Nanula and some liaisons that he had with several porn stars. The information actually was leaked to me by one of the operators of the Luxury Companion. So when I look at these attack articles against Michael Avenatti on the blog that I referenced to Mike South, it makes me wonder, is Keith M. Davidson the one writing these articles? I think it's a high probability it is him. Very high probability, or someone who has an interest of protecting Keith M. Davidson. Because when I really think about it, if Keith M. Davidson goes down, like it gets into severe legal trouble, I have a feeling that he will sing like a bird about the Luxury Companion. And when I think about the Luxury Companion's little black book, there are probably so many Stephanie Clifford, Stormy Daniel versus Trump type situations that could come out into the public eye via the Luxury Companion's black book. So I'll tell you this. If I were attorney Michael Avenatti, without a doubt, I would start looking into the operations, the history, the mechanics, and the legalities of the Luxury Companion. I absolutely would, because really, someone who is operating such a thing as the Luxury Companion should not be saying much of a word in regards to Michael Avenatti or politics or anything having to do with the legal world whatsoever, because anyone who operates an entity such as the Luxury Companion is wallowing in quite a gray area, the down and dirty, tawdry trenches of mainstream society. In fact, I can't even say that they operate in mainstream society. From my perspective, it's all organized crime. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that today as I'm on my way to get some lunch. I hope you all have a good one. Once more, this is Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers, Just Some Thoughts. Now, I'm going to follow up this audio podcast with a video podcast later this evening due to an extreme concern in regards to Michael Avenatti and why, if a recent piece that was put out by TMZ and Breitbart News is correct. He absolutely, positively cannot be a presidential hopeful. He actually, from my perspective, needs to go ahead and step back into the shadows and just let that be it. As many of you are aware, Michael Avenatti is an attorney who has been representing Stephanie Clifford, aka porn star Stormy Daniels, the woman who has made several allegations in regards to President Donald Trump. Over the past few months, I have had a lot of faith in Mr. Avenatti. I have believed that he was a champion of women, and I really thought that he was an up and up guy. However, if specifically the piece put out by Breitbart News today is correct, he's not someone who I feel could adequately represent me as a presidential hopeful, primarily because, according to the Breitbart News piece, he has been in what appears to be a romantic and sexual relationship with a young woman who is only 20 years old. I'm not going to get into the details of the particular article as of now. I'll wait until later this evening in my video podcast. But it's important for everyone to keep in mind that the human brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. Michael Avenatti is a college educated man pushing 50 years old. From my perspective, he has absolutely no business dating a young woman under the age of 25. I question, had he and this young 20-year-old girl not had an argument, was he planning on marrying her and running for president? Because if he were to win, that would result in having a presidential first lady only being around the age of 22 or 23. It's also important to note that this young woman, her name seems to be Muriel Miniuti. It's important to note that she is foreign born. She's from an Eastern European country called Estonia. Again, I am hoping that at this stage, Michael Avenatti steps back into the shadows. I think that he should leave Twitter altogether, because if simply the age of this girl turns out to be factual, I just want to forget that he ever was on the public stage to begin with. Again, this was another podcast of Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Now, it's been a few days since I've posted a Just Some Thoughts podcast, and initially tonight I was going to talk about something different, but news just broke in regards to Stormy Daniels, aka Stephanie Clifford, coming forward, making allegations in regards to her legal representation, Michael Avenatti, having filed some defamation lawsuits against Trump against her wishes. Yeah. You know, I think in a previous life, I might have been Ares, the god of war, because I understand war tactics and battles extremely well. Let me just do a quick recap for some of you before I give my final opinion on Stormy Daniels for this evening. Now, it was just about a week ago that she went over to the UK and spoke at Oxford University saying that she didn't intend to be a tool, essentially, of the Democrats. She magically appeared over at Oxford University around the same time that allegations were made against her legal representation and presidential hopeful Michael Avenatti in regards to domestic violence against a married young woman in her early 20s that he apparently was living with, who a woman who I can only deem as being akin to the under the radar girls attached to the luxury companion. Oh, and I must note that Stephanie Clifford also stated that she felt her career was ruined by coming out in regards to her story about Trump. And that's a key. That's a key because I have a feeling that she's going to use that situation to go after Avenatti in regards to a lawsuit. I think she's going to try to sue him. She'll have legal representation, most likely facilitated by Donald Trump and his administration. It just wouldn't surprise me. But Donald Trump and his administration got to Stephanie. They might have had her in their pocket all along. This all might have been a giant ruse, but they've promised her something. I noticed over the past day or so, xbiz.com has posted a story featuring photographs of Miss Clifford, all dolled up, all glammed up, Stormy Daniels full force, speaking about the quote unquote stigma against performers. So that's very symbolic. It's basically her being accepted back into the adult entertainment industry fold. That's what that piece was really about. Because XBiz, as you know, is very close to the Free Speech Coalition, the FSC. And I'll tell you, it wasn't very many years ago that Diane Duke, the previous CEO of the FSC, was stating, strangely, at a particular meeting that was documented publicly, saying the quote unquote Republicans will save us. And for those of you who are not aware, the Free Speech Coalition is the political face, essentially, of the American pornographic industry. Just to backtrack one more time, it's important to note that many of the circumstances that revolved around these allegations against Stormy Daniels' legal representation, Michael Avenatti, tremendously paralleled the allegations of assault against Charlie Sheen by Capri Anderson and the allegations of assault by Kendall Carson against internationally known violinist David Garrett. Now, when it comes to the Charlie Sheen versus Capri Anderson situation, Keith M. Davidson, the attorney, was involved in that. Ironically, Keith M. Davidson is also the attorney who's involved or was involved in the alleged payouts to the porn stars who have made allegations against Trump, Stormy Daniels, and allegedly Jessica Drake. So to conclude, I personally am indifferent in regards to Stormy Daniels, aka Stephanie Clifford. That's me personally. But what I will say is a lot of people are not indifferent to her at all. Playing people within the adult entertainment industry realm is one thing. Playing people within the political sphere is a whole different ballgame. There's going to be some people who are pissed at her. Off the charts pissed. Because she could have parlayed this situation into a mainstream career and into a life outside of the adult entertainment industry. But I suppose she didn't have the confidence to do it. She couldn't let go of that queen of porn crown. And you can see it in those XBiz shots of her that were just taken. Wow. I don't think that this is going to end well. I just don't. Because what's happening in the political sphere right now is, at least in America, worldwide, but in America at this moment, is a turf war. It's kind of a pimp war, you know. And if you do read Omarosa Manigault Newman's book, Unhinged, Trump makes a lot of promises, but he doesn't always deliver. So, whatever was promised to Miss Clifford, aka Stormy Daniels, she's never going to get it. And considering this move, I still need to read the details of it. I retweeted the link on at Alex Mayers Live. But considering this move, I don't think she's going to survive. I just don't. I don't. Because I think that the situation with Michael Avenatti was her being given a second chance. Because remember, she'd already been in the political sphere once before. But she has no loyalty. None at all. Wow. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that. I gotta bring inside some groceries now. I'm sitting in my car at the moment. Oh, America today is not at all what I thought it was going to be when I was a teenager. But it could be remade. It could be remade through love and honesty if more of us choose to walk that path. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for listening once more to another podcast of Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Good night. All right, everyone. Well, this one's called Apology Negated, and it is complete. I think it turned out pretty well. I'm going to take some photos of it and post them on my Twitter at Alex Mayers Live. That way you guys can see the detail and the color and everything, because it's not quite accurate on the video. But anyone who decided to watch today, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you may have enjoyed the audio archives of Alexandra Mayers. Just some thoughts. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.